Okay. Hello.
Me.
Oh, God damn.
You should leave that.
Definitely. Welcome to another episode of This Song Sucks. I'm Josh Kavanaugh. This is the podcast where three musical pals get together and talk about the music that we hate. As always, I'm joined by Hayden. What's in the box? Crawford. How's it going, Hayden?
What is in the box?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one yelling about it.
My balls. Josh.
Jesus. And we're very excited to welcome back Natalie, already regretting my decision to be here, Morrow.
Only regretting it because it means I have to listen to this terrible song.
Oh, and what terrible song are we going to talk about today?
This terrible song is, honestly, I think you could just stop your podcast. No more episodes need to be created because this is the worst song ever written, produced, played on the radio way too many times. It is Matchbox 20's Unwell.
I agree about not making any more episodes, but for different reasons.
God damn it. Hayden and I are both excited about this because last time we had Natalie on, I was alone on an island with my hatred for Billie Eilish. And now I think the tables will be slightly turned. I mean, I feel like me and Hayden are probably more lukewarm to slightly negative, whereas Natalie just absolutely hates the shit out of this. So we're super excited to have that perspective this time.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Our favorite hatred pal.
That's me? Damn.
You did tell us both to suck a dick on the last taping, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it may come up again
it's a motif.
if you do it well enough.
Shit.
Oh, man.
Balls and blowjobs already right off the bat.
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of that in the background on these guys. But the story of Matchbox 20 really starts with the story of Mr. Robert Kelly Thomas, known to most folks as Rob Thomas.
Throb Thomas?
Throb Thomas, yes.
Yeah.
Can we call him Throb Thomas, please?
No, I think I might just call him Rob the whole time.
I should call him Bob Thomas.
Bob Thomas.
That'll differentiate me from the good Rob Thomas, who's the television producer, and then old Bobby Thomas,
Right.
garbage songwriter.
Bobbert. We'll call him Bobbert.
Bobbert, yes. Okay, perfect. So Bobbert was born in Landstuhl, Germany in 1972. His dad was an Army sergeant. There's a big U.S. Army base in Landstuhl. Sergeant Bill Thomas and his wife, Mamie. He didn't stay there for long. The family moved back to the States 6 months after his birth, and his parents were divorced by age 2. So Bobbert spent most of his childhood living with his alcoholic mother. And they moved around a lot due to economic hardship. So they were poor.
We shouldn't be laughing at this, but it's...
Yeah.
Worst timing.
It sounded like Bobbert had a pretty rough childhood.
Oh, I've ruined the podcast already.
Oh, no.
Okay, so eventually they settle. Hayden, you're going to be excited about this. Orlando, Florida,
God damn.
when he was 11 years old. So no matter what,
course.
this podcast always goes back.
So I told you before we started, I didn't read anything about Matchbox 20 or Rob Thomas's coming up into music because I was really curious what urban area shaped his personality based on the way he looks in videos. And of course, it's Orlando.
Yep.
He looks like that guy friend you had in high school who always liked Sublime just a little too much.
So he looked like a lot of y'all's friends in high school.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, ouch! That hits a little too close. But yeah, he started out in Orlando. It gets worse where he moves to. We'll get that in a second, though.
How could it get worse
Well, you'll see.
Gainesville?
than Central Florida?
Just hang on. So, growing up in this kind of unstable environment, Thomas had quite the checklist that would be typical of a Florida hooligan. So here's just a quick bullet point based off of some of the stories I found. So he was robbing liquor stores at age 11. He claims to have lost his virginity at 14 to a, quote, big girl, but God bless her.
Ooh, nice one, Rob.
Yeah. He dropped out of high school at 17. Apparently the environment with his mother had just become too unstable. He spent some time in jail for stealing cars. And then also during this time, he apparently just dropped a fuck ton of acid. And the story that I found said that he got so fucked up one time that he started playing around with dry ice. and he burned his hands so badly that they nearly had to amputate both of them. Almost never would have had a career of music had they not saved those precious little mitts.
Okay, I'm sorry, but hang on. I'm just trying to imagine taking LSD in Central Florida and not just like, I mean, I guess you go break into cars and play with dry ice, but
LSD in Central Florida in 1989.
It's a good year.
Year of our Lord.
Yeah. So Thomas began writing music around age 14. I didn't find much about like how he started, just that he started playing in cover bands around this time, and that led to him writing his own music. A quote from an article I found kind of highlights how important music was to him in his unstable life. He said, quote, "In songwriting, I felt special for the first time, and all I wanted to do is get out of Florida."
Well,
And he didn't get out of Florida initially. He went to the worst place I mentioned, which is Gainesville.
That's what I said. That was my guess.
I don't know. Hang on. Is Gainesville worse than Orlando?
Yes.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, there's probably more places to hide in Orlando.
You go to the Tom Petty Museum or whatever. They don't have one of those, do they? They should if they don't.
Is that next to the Tebow Museum?
It's the same building, actually. which is an abandoned Red Lobster.
No, that's the Mudcrutch building.
Okay. So he moves to Gainesville and he joins this band, and the sources on this are very conflicting. There's a lot of conflicting sources on this because I feel like for a band this big and for their first album being so huge, their Wikipedia articles are very short. And I think there's good reason for that. So some sources said 1990, some said 93, but he joins a band called Tabitha's Secret.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
It's already pretty gross.
Oh,
Yeesh.
Now, most of the...
Throb, my man.
throb.
Hey, I'm Throb Thomas.
Not a good look,
Or
Throb.
Tabitha's Secret.
Throbby Bobbert.
Oh, God.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That is Tabitha's secret.
Oh, God. So, most of the existing press, like stories about Matchbox 20 interviews and stuff, very briefly mention this time with this band, usually simply stating like he was in this band before Matchbox 20, or that Tabitha's Secret like morphed, quote unquote, into Matchbox 20.
Yeah.
However, the story from the Wikipedia page for Tabitha's Secret, which I will point out is not verified with very many good citations.
I'm shocked.
The story there is as follows. So by 1995, the band's manager had connected Tabitha's Secret with record company representatives, including one from Atlantic Records. This guy, Matt Serletic, who had already been a producer for Collective Soul, he was with Atlantic, and he approached the band with a deal of his own, basically saying he was going to set up his own production company to work with them and then get a record deal, rather than signing up directly with Atlantic. And the two guitar players in Tabitha's Secret, guys named Jay Stanley and John Goff, they did not like this. They wanted a record deal where they signed directly with a record label. But Thomas said, fuck you, and agreed to the deal anyway, despite their objections. Again, there's not a whole lot of good sources on this, but it seems that the record company allegedly pressured the rest of the band to drop the two guitar players, which of course they promptly did. And then Serletic found two guys he knew from like recording studios and I think a guy from a music school to fill those two guitar spots. And there you have Matchbox 20 being born. So in 1997, this is like 6 months or so after they released their first album, Goff and Stanley fought a lawsuit against Thomas and Serletic and the two other original members of the band. The bass player and the drummer were the same. They moved with Thomas. And they alleged that Serletic had agreed to represent the band with a contract with Atlantic, and then after they said they had reservations, that Thomas unilaterally fired the band's manager, canceled their tour, announced the band's breakup, and then claimed that the deal with Atlantic was just for him. So that lawsuit was settled out of court in 2000. And the very next year, Goff and Stanley released an album called Don't Play With Matches, which includes a bunch of Tabitha's Secret's recording, including original versions of 3 a.m. So 3 a.m. was co-written.
The Cash Cow.
Yeah, it was co-written with one of these guys. Now, the funny thing is it's Don't Play With Matches is the album, but the full title has every member of the band in it. So it's like very clearly like, fuck you, Rob Thomas, you were in this band. So just to give you a little taste of Tabitha Secret, here is the
please do.
original 1993
Actually, don't. Oh,
1993 version of 3 a.m.
She always sleeps when it's raining. Then she screams, and her voice is straining. She says, baby,
Those bongos, baby.
It got churchy.
Isn't everything in that age, though?
It sounds like an even wider version of Rusted Root.
It sounds like something Michael Scott would be listening to it in the Chili's on The Office.
Yeah. So I couldn't find anything. Obviously, it was all like settled out of court and the details of what happened exactly. But I mean, this guy's name is listed as a co-writer for 3 a.m. So he at least made royalties off of that.
Well, whoever changed the arrangement of that song to the version we know deserves the money they made.
Oh yeah, because I mean, they move it up a half step and then he sings a higher melody. It's just that version is so like anemic.
I think that song is awesome. Like listen back to them like that. Like a lot of them or whatever, but I think that's a pretty good song. Personally, 3 a.m. I'm gonna say
I think
it.
it's their only good song.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's a good pop song.
The only one worth listening to.
I don't have a problem with it, but that version clearly, Tabitha Secret was clearly not going very far with that version of it.
No, they were not. That one died in the Chili's parking lot.
So like all organically created bands, Matchbox 20 immediately goes into releasing one of the biggest albums of all time, Yourself or Someone Like You in 1996. I mean, they essentially just had a few shows in 96. This came out late that year, and then it was just hardcore touring and promoting this album. The album only sold 610 copies in the first week of its release. However, it would go on to be one of the best-selling albums of all time. It was certified 12 times platinum on October 2001. So that math works out to be about 2.4 million copies a year in a 5-year period to reach that. And so for some perspective, this album has outsold Nevermind by Nirvana, The Joshua Tree by U2, and Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles.
Now you're just picking favorites. Wow. I mean, that makes sense because this, like, it was kind of a trip listening to that record again because I haven't done it probably since my adolescence. Mm-hmm. And man, it was like a injector shot to the temple of nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
That's also not a totally fair... Like, if you pick out those 3 bands that you just named that this album has outsold, mm-hmm. You're talking about other... I mean, even Sgt. Pepper's, like, those are pretty, like, not all that, like...
Appealing?
Yeah. Like, this is, like, that's not, like, a totally fair comparison, I don't think, because you're not talking about, like, a widely available sound that a lot of people driving down the road listening to the radio are going to choose to listen to.
No, I mean, that's a very good point, and it just sort of highlights that just sort of middle of the road, not very exciting pop music appeals to a fuck ton of people.
Yeah.
So it first appeared on the Billboard 200 about 9 months after its release, kind of a slow start, but it eventually peaked at number 5. And there's 5 singles off this record, and they were released over a period of like nearly 2 years. The first of which was Long Day. Never even heard of that. Didn't chart at all. And then you had Push and 3 a.m. and toward the middle and end of 97. These are 2 of those songs that happened in that period where you couldn't chart on the Billboard 100 unless you were officially released as a single. So they never made it onto the Hot 100. However, their like radio play rankings were number 5 and number 3. So they were as, huge hits as we remember them. Then you also had The Real World, which came out in May 98 as a single, and it was number 38. And then there was Back to Good. Do y'all remember that one? For some reason, it charted at number 24. In case you don't remember Back to Good, this is it real quick.
Oh yeah, I remember the shit out of this, man.
I heard that guitar and it's like, this is exactly what my shitty Epiphone plugged into my Dan Electro Cool Cat sounded like
The Cool Cat,
when I was like 15 years old. So for some reason, that was like the highest charting single on that record. But, it probably had a lot to do with the success of the rest of the singles. Push was nominated for Grammy for Best Rock Performance by Duo or Group, but thankfully lost. So this is 97. Anyone want to take a guess as to what they lost to for Best Rock Performance?
Eve 6.
Now, that's
Oh
a good
my
guess,
gosh.
but they would have been the following year probably. It's one of your favorite songs, Hayden.
Goo Goo Dolls, Iris.
That's a little earlier, but no, it's One Headlight by the Wallflowers.
Ah, yeah.
Oh,
Man. Yeah, what a killer track
Yeah,
that
well,
is.
definitely, we need to do This Song Slaps on that song for sure.
That song slaps hard.
So, despite, like the success of this, obviously critical sort of reviews of it later on, because other than the singles, the rest of the album is pretty terrible. Not a single catchy hook in the bunch, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does fall off a cliff pretty
Yeah,
hard.
But I found this article from 2016 from Billboard where they ranked at the time, all 92 Diamond records from best to worst. And so out of 92, this album was 87. This is a quote from the article. Real World and Back to Good feel like personal statements in search of coherent theses. 3 a.m. is strangely lacking in urgency for a song with its title, and Push might be the most narratively confused song about domestic abuse ever released.
I was going to say something about that, too.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of, people were very critical of those lyrics when it came out because it sounded like he just wanted to beat up a woman.
Well, yeah, when I had a moment where I was listening to these songs, like I said earlier, and I was having a really good time by the time I got to 3. Because I like Real World, I like Long Day. 311's, 311.
Oh, God, you can't get it out of your mind, can you?
3 a.m. And then Push comes on. I'm like, oh, fuck, this song is good too. But then I listened to the lyrics for the first time in a couple of decades, and I was like, holy fuck, man. Until you go and read about what he claims it's actually about.
Yeah,
but
yeesh.
not a good look, though, off the bat for Throb.
People saying, what's up with these lyrics, Rob? And oh, they're not what they sound like, trust me.
Poetry.
Such a white man thing, too. Don't you think?
Yeah.
You just don't understand, man.
You just don't understand me. Well, how about you just don't write a song that's ambiguous about something like that, you douche?
Hey, it paid off for him with this garbage song.
It did.
So, as I mentioned earlier, they toured for this. I mean, they kept a Def Leppard level of touring from early 7 through late 98. And Thomas would describe in interviews later that those first few years touring with the band were a total blur. It's if it happened in the first 2 years, I don't remember it. He was blowing through copious amounts of booze, coke, and women.
Really? Rob Thomas?
Yeah, he actually. I think he has a son from just a random hookup from those years.
Interesting.
So, but by 99, Thomas had the band sort of cleaned themselves up and, put some ground rules down for drug and alcohol use. But he had cleaned himself up enough to write and record the unbelievably huge hit Smooth with Carlos Santana.
He wrote that song?
Yeah, him and one other guy wrote it. I forget the other dude's name. Ishtar, producer.
Another thing that's been shocking about this to me is the fact that he is I always thought he was just a front man, but he has been the figurehead of all of this. He is the songwriter of all of it, pretty much, right?
Yeah, they don't start getting the rest of the band doesn't start getting writing credits until the third or fourth album.
Man, interesting.
He wrote some songs for Santana's follow-up album to Supernatural. He also wrote some songs for Willie Nelson. I mean, he's somewhat of a prolific songwriter. But we'll leave the story of Smooth alone, just in case we want to come back to it later in a future episode.
That song slaps. No
well,
way.
slaps or sucks. Who knows? We'll decide. So after that huge success, they record their next album, Mad Season, in 2000. Apparently, preparations for the album kind of led to some friction in the group as other members of the band wanted to contribute writing credits. However, they landed on just releasing songs written or co-written by Thomas. For whatever reason, they didn't want a song on there that did not have his writing credit on it, which to me just sends up alarm bells of just kind of being a douche. Also, before this album's release, they officially changed the name of the band. So, as we know them, they were Matchbox the numeral 20. And they are now officially Matchbox the word 20.
What a bold choice.
I have a feeling that might have something to do with all the litigation surrounding them. I don't know. But this album was also really big. It was number 3 on the Billboard 200 It only went to 4 times platinum, so
It really sucks, though.
it's not good.
Man, like it's like their entire career walks off. Like, after Push, everything after Push, like on the track listing of the first record sucks, and every song on the next 2 records sucks. I couldn't find anything I liked.
But as we see in a lot of like sophomore albums that we've talked about before, the successes of some of these singles is like better. So like Bent was a number 1 on the Hot 100, and none of the other ones came close. If You're Gone was number 5. Mad Season, which is really the only one I remembered from that record, was 48. And then Last Beautiful Girl was the other single, and it went number 20 on the adult contemporary, not getting on any other charts in the U.S.
What else is on the adult contemporary chart right then? I wish we had that. That'd be fun to play.
That's what happens is you see the shift of them being on the popular charts to in popular / alternative, and then it's just a move to adult contemporary, which to me is just like a perfect description of Matchbox 20. This album, though, was nominated for Best Rock Album, but it lost to the Foo Fighters' There's Nothing Left to Lose. So,
R.I.P.
Yeah, thank you, Foo Fighters. And yes, R.I.P. Taylor Hawkins, that's his name, the drummer?
Yeah. Man, speaking of Foo Fighters, I'm glad you brought them up. Have you heard Dave Grohl's metal record he put out like right after Taylor died?
No.
He had a band called Dream Widow that's just him doing all the instruments of this like crazy black metal band. It's really awesome. You should check it out. Everybody should.
Speaking of metal records, do you think Matchbox 20 would have gone metal had they changed their name to Matchbox XX?
Static Box X.
Those Roman numerals would be great.
Oh, man. Well, fortunately for you, Hayden, the Foo Fighters will come back again shortly here.
Sweet.
So the band toured heavily again for the next 2 years, and then they released their next album, More Than You Think You Are, in 2002. This was still pretty successful, 2 times platinum, peaking at number 6 on the Billboard 200. It had 5 singles.
5 singles?
Yeah. Disease, Bright Lights, Downfall, All I Need, and today's topic, Unwell, which Unwell was the most successful from that album. It hit number 5 on the Hot 100. And then the last 2, Downfall and All I Need, again, were only like... Downfall was number 27 on the adult contemporary, and then All I Need only charted in Australia for some reason. Did not chart on any U.S. stuff, but the Australians just couldn't get enough of Rob Thomas, I guess.
Throwing shrimps on the Barbies with Rob.
Yeah.
They can have him.
But this was the first album to feature songs in which Thomas had no writing credit. So he's loosening up a little bit.
I was gonna say that I'm glad. Okay, I'll save this for the most part. But like, I knew when you hear Unwell, it just screams brand new pop producer, like strong arming the band into stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%. So Unwell was nominated for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group, losing to No Doubt's Underneath It All. Thank you, No Doubt. And then the album was also nominated for Best Rock Album, but they lost again to the Foo Fighters for their album One by One. So nice. I'm just imagining Rob Thomas just like, growl!
Well, I mean, come on, Rob.
Yeah.
Come on, Bobbert. You know what this is. You know Dave Grohl.
So they toured again for 2 years, and then they called a hiatus in 2004. And the next few years resulted in the release of several solo albums by members of the band, including Thomas, and then they lost their guitarist, Adam Gaynor, and I couldn't find much about why he left other than...
It's because nobody cares.
Well, so, yeah. he released a statement on his website that said something like that he couldn't discuss the details of why they left. But I think the Matchbox 20 official release was a lot more telling. It said, quote, "The band has decided not to renew the services of Adam Gaynor."
Yeah.
It feels like very much like a we left him in a rest stop kind of situation.
like Lane Kiffin in the parking garage at USC.
Except for it's in Gainesville still. For some reason.
Yeah.
Talk about an uncrucial part of Matchbox 20, the fucking guitar player. I mean, like, anybody could play in that role, man.
Well, that's why they just got 2 guys to do it. I mean, they were like professional musicians, sure, but it's just like, It doesn't fucking matter who the guitarist of Matchbox 20 is.
No. All they need to be able to do is like help Rob arrange those songs. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, yeah. So the band comes back together, this time as a foursome. The drummer ended up playing all the rhythm guitar parts on this next album, which is not really an album, it's a compilation. It's called Exile on Mainstream,
Oh, get the fuck out
which
of here.
is obvious reference to the Stones' Exile on Main Street, and that just clearly Hayden's reaction was the same I had. Like, get the fuck out of here. Come on.
Yeah, shut up, man. Yeah.
So what this album was is a compilation that was released in 2 parts. The first was a 7-song EP, one of which was a digital only, of all new material. And the second part included remasters of 12 of their biggest singles. So it was kind of like a greatest hits album. And I'm guessing that the new material was light because they tried to get together with our producer friend Steve Lillywhite on this album.
Busted stuff.
And they tried to like collaboratively write a new record, and I read somewhere that they had like 12 songs, and they only ended up releasing 7 of them because it was probably just them fighting over, who wants to make the song sound shittier. But the success of this really fell off. It only went gold. It did hit number 3 on the Billboard 200. And the EP had 3 singles. How Far We've Come, which hit number 11 on the Hot 100. I don't remember this song at all. And then you have another Only in Australia song for All Your Reasons. And then These Hard Times, which hit number 7 on the Adult Contemporary. So again, just a fall into a nice comfortable position on the Adult Contemporary charts for Matchbox 20.
Do you know why you don't recall hearing any of these other songs?
Because they're all crappy, probably.
No, because they were still playing Unwell on the radio.
Rob Thomas goes to the record company. Hey, I've got all these new songs. Like, no, we're good. We're just gonna keep playing
All set.
Unwell for the next 10 years.
What, are you crazy?
Yeah. Come on, get away.
Good one, Hayden.
Thanks. Right over Josh's head.
So he spent the next few years working on solo albums, but returned to record another dysfunctional album of collaborative songwriting with Matchbox 20. Apparently, the members of the groups were all living in different cities, writing and recording music in their own respective studios.
Well, you're not the Beatles, guys. I don't understand. I never thought that Matchbox 20 would have this much drama, interpersonal drama. They just don't matter enough to be able to argue with each other.
Nothing about them's interesting enough.
Just
for that.
take the paycheck and shut up.
All this comes up. There's this ridiculous 30-minute documentary about them making the record that Unwell is on. Mm-hmm. And all of these goofy little points, they're talking about it in their little confessional scenes. And it's a lot of bands come in and they fine tune their songs, but we don't even live in the same city. We just have to put it all together. These aren't new ideas, guys. You're not special.
Yeah.
This happens to everybody.
Yeah.
And at one point they're so excited because somebody's written a song and it's going to be really cool and it's going to hit hard, but it's going to be fun. It's real Dave Matthews. What year is it?
Their conception of what songs they thought were going to be the hits were just completely off. Every single one of their big hits from all their records, we didn't think this was going to be the big hit. And I don't know if they're just playing coy or they really are just that dumb. But for this latest album, they came together, the members of the bands recording separately, with around 60 songs of material, which of course led to even more disagreements on the musical direction of the album. But they eventually came together and agreed on what shitty songs to pursue, and they released North in 2012, which might be as close to a completely unlistenable album I've ever heard. I couldn't get through
really?
it.
I didn't even go that far.
I was like, well, they've only got 4 or 5 albums. I'll just listen to everything. I got 2 or 3, 4, maybe 4 tracks into this one, and just I couldn't.
Did you pull a clip?
No, it's not even worth a clip. I mean, it's just very clear. It's very I'm sorry, for lack of a better term, it's very schizophrenic because you've got 4 people trying to come in and put their. None of the ideas are good. I mean, I think they would have been better off just letting Rob Thomas continue to throb Thomas all over the place.
Yeah, it sounded like Bobbert had the right idea all along.
Still laughing at Throb Thomas.
You know how stupid I am? On my entire note page, my very first note is Throb Thomas on my note page.
Just let Rob Thomas come Throb Thomas all over the place.
Oh, man. So despite this album being absolute trash, it is their only #1 Billboard 200 album. I guess, years of not having a full... It's 10 years between an album of all new material, so people, I guess, were hyped for it, and so it premiered at #1.
I wonder if the ship to Adult Contemporary has anything to do with just Rob being nice to look at.
But is he?
I mean, relatively. There's a lot of middle-aged women pining over him on YouTube comment sections. So
I mean, he's definitely a Gainesville 10.
Give that man a visor, and it's over.
oh man, that's a good one, Josh. Gainesville 10.
So this album had 3 singles. She's So Mean hit number 40 on the Hot 100, so we get a top 40 hit, but the other 2 are, again, just adult contemporary charters, and the album is currently only certified gold. So they go from 12 times platinum to 4 to 2, and then just 2 gold records.
Sounds like it reminds me of the Limp Bizkit fall off.
Yeah, it's actually very similar. I mean, just like, I guess, how we hope Florida falls off into the ocean. Their albums kind of do the same thing.
Josh, you're on fire today.
I'm just charged up about Rob Thomas, man.
Well, I'm just charged up. Sorry.
Thanks for saying something nice and then immediately tearing me down.
We're doing good. Neither's been told to suck a dick.
Yeah,
yet,
I
so
know.
I think we're doing better than last time.
The episode is young, right?
Yeah, she's just stewing over there, just waiting for a moment to pounce. But in my research into this original lawsuit, I found more lawsuits. And Hayden, you briefly alluded to it, but in 2005, Frank Torres, who is the man on the album cover for Yourself and Someone Like You, sued the band for using his image without permission. Torres claimed that the band, quote, knowingly, intentionally, and maliciously put his photograph on the cover, causing him emotional distress.
I mean, it's not a good photograph of the guy.
No. And so for their part, Rob Thomas said in a radio interview that the band, they asked the guy if they could take a photo of him, but, it's just some random, they were walking around New York just taking random photos for the album cover. But in the same interview, he also said that when people asked in the 90s after this album came out and was successful, people would ask him, who is this guy? And, why did you take a picture of him? They would create these elaborate stories, just completely made up, about who he was, saying things like he was a homeless guy that worked in craft services for them. So it's maybe that had something to do with the emotional distress. But, I mean, the lawsuit was in 2005, so I think maybe this guy just my face is on a multi-platinum album. Maybe I can get some money out of this. And I don't know how the lawsuit ended. I couldn't find, but I'm imagining it was probably dismissed.
He's dead, so who cares?
He did pass away, yes. But more interestingly, here's where the story really goes on a tangent, guys. So in my search for details about the Tabitha Secret lawsuit, this is really desperate. I'm hopped up at 1 a.m. searching Florida county court records.
Oh my God!
Oh God!
Wow. We should have a whole episode on what you found there.
Well, you can't do it by state. You have to do it by county. So I'm just going through the counties and where they were living or where it may have been recorded. So I found this other lawsuit, and it's a civil lawsuit, so all the actual records are sealed, but the website has a list of filing dates and court motions for a 4-year period between 98 and 2002. And this is not the Tabitha Secret lawsuit that I mentioned earlier, because one of the specifics I could get from this was that the defendants listed were all the original members of Tabitha Secret, including Rob Thomas. So somebody was suing not Matchbox 20, but Tabitha Secret.
Was it Tabitha?
It had to have been Tabitha.
It was not Tabitha.
Damn.
There are also Forbidden Records was claimed in the lawsuit, which I think was just a record company that the members of Tabitha Secret found to release their material. But the only plaintiff listed in this suit, and I sent a picture of the guy yesterday to y'all, is a man named Ricky Lee Reynolds.
Oh.
Now, this may just be a coincidence, but the only thing I could find about a man named Ricky Lee Reynolds is a guitarist.
Oh my God. I can't imagine if you just I'm sorry to interrupt this, but if you just Google what's his name? Richie Ray?
Ricky Lee Reynolds.
Ricky Lee Reynolds in Florida together. Who knows what'll come up?
He's also known as Ricochet Reynolds,
Ooh,
the
nice
guitarist for a southern rock band named Black Oak, Arkansas. So to give you, I listened to a lot of Black Oak, Arkansas this week, more than Matchbox 20. And if you just imagine a Leonard Skinner, but even more blatantly racist.
Perfect.
I listened to as much of the band's catalog as I could, and it's definitely not a very thorough listen because they have a fuck ton of albums. Hoping I'd find a song that was very clearly "This is 3 a.m." or something. Why else would this guy sue them? But alas, I couldn't find anything. It may have just been a coincidence. Like I said, it may have been a different Ricky Lee Reynolds.
You were fired up trying to find that 3 a.m. Southern Rocks version, weren't you?
Yes, I was. And so I found two more funny pieces of information in my search into this lawsuit and Mr. Reynolds. Went back to old LinkedIn, our friend from the first episode. This is a quote from Ricky Lee Reynolds' LinkedIn page. He's unfortunately has passed away, but in his long bio, he says, quote, "I have been friends with 3 governors of the state of Arkansas and have smoked down with one who became the head man in our government."
Smoked down.
Yeah. So apparently when Bill Clinton said he was not inhaling with the band Black Oak, Arkansas.
That's not surprising. I've been watching the impeachment show on Hulu this last week. Have y'all seen that?
No, I've heard it's really good, though.
Yeah, it is really good. But yeah.
So,
old Bill. Scary guy.
Oh, Slick Willie. So the final thing I noticed from these court proceedings was a bunch of motions filed by this lawyer named William B. Pringle III, which is a funny enough name in itself. But I was like, this is a funny name. I'll Google search it.
William B. Pringle.
Yes.
I'm Googling this.
No, wait. I'm about to tell you what I found. William B. Pringle III was indicted for tax fraud in 2018, but he is most famously known for representing tracksuit goblin Lou Pearlman in his Ponzi scheme lawsuit. Lou Pearlman being the guy who founded Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. So my guess is that Matchbox 20 probably got like, hey, let's get the guy that defended Lou.
Damn.
I really wish I knew what this lawsuit was about, but I spent probably twice as much time trying to find out what the fuck this was than I did researching Matchbox 20.
I mean, it's way more interesting than their actual career.
It is. So anyway, that's all I have on Matchbox 20's rise and fall, as it were. But Natalie also mentioned something to us in the text this week, something about Matchbox 20 NFTs.
Oh God. Okay. I gotta reach over here and pull up my notes here because this is some garbage. Let's see. Okay, so I was, doing my research because I'm, responsible. And obviously happy to be
That
here.
sounds like a dig at Hayden.
Well, hey, now I do more research than I get credit for.
No, I had to take notes so that I could make sure that me hating this song was not just me, but other people.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it's just me, but that's okay. So I pulled up this Vice article and just read this sentence. And it just says, after years as a karaoke staple, problem number 1, and with images of the song's original lyric sheets becoming an NFT, this song has become more relevant than ever in 2021. Karaoke staple is a problem. And then I just go down. Apparently they have sold just pictures of the original lyric sheet of Unwell.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
as an
digital images?
Yeah.
That's becoming popular for a lot of bands, actually.
So, I mean, I guess, there being all the money went to like mental health awareness, whatever. Go down the YouTube comment section and it's all just really sad people talking about how the song has made them feel better in 2022.
Dude, tell me about it. Oh my God. It's rough
Horrible.
out there. It's rough out there reading comment sections about this stuff.
So, that's the whole I don't know what an NFT is, but they're...
What is it? Josh, will you tell us what an NFT
yeah,
is?
you're the smart one.
Whenever somebody says NFT, I smile and nod like I do at most work meetings.
I think it stands for non-fungible token
Fungible?
or transaction.
What does fungible mean?
Did you say fungible?
Yes.
Is that like, it sounds like a packet of gummies that are like shaped like mushrooms.
Fungibles? Fungibles for kids.
right next to Dunkaroos in the corner store.
It's like a business term, but essentially what my understanding of NFT is it uses like the same blockchain technology as like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to be a verified means of digital ownership. So like you purchase an NFT of a image of the lyrics of Unwell and you have this digital trail that says, I own this. Not that they own the song or publishing rights or recording rights to the song, but they own the digital rights to this image of the lyrics. And it can be an image of anything, it doesn't have to be an image. There's all kinds of different things you can sell as an NFT. But it's just like it's happening a lot in the art world because it's very similar to how art's valued anyway. It's just a matter of taste and preference. You give it the value that you say it has. But like cryptocurrency and all that shit, it's like a huge playground for fraud and just like really bad behavior.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think all that shit's really dumb and people are going to lose a fuck ton of money off of it. It's basically a pyramid scheme. But, a lot of money is being thrown around, and Throb Thomas is, definitely funding the rest of his life.
Fungibling.
Probably off, fungible. Probably off of just the money he makes off of this loan. Or, like you said, maybe it all goes to charity, but there's a lot of money in this shit, and it's really dumb. You say you don't understand it,
Well,
and I don't think it's meant to be understood. It's intentional.
yeah.
Like that Larry David ad in the Super Bowl. Did anybody see that?
I did.
It's basically the whole idea behind that is you don't understand it, but you should put money in it anyway. Which
Would you guys rather have Portobello or Shiitake Fungibles if you had to get it? I'm a Shiitake guy, personally.
I'm more of an enoki guy,
I didn't give you that option. Josh?
I like a good portobello.
I think we're onto something here.
Let me add something here, just real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So he sells the NFT. It comes with a physical proof of authenticity. It's framed and autographed by Throb Thomas. This NFT goes up for auction on April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say. NFTs are a scam. He puts it up on April Fool's Day. Come on.
Ah.
I'm on to you, Throb.
Come on. Oh, are you? Don't tell Adam.
Oh my god. All right, let's talk about this fucking song in detail.
Do we have to?
Can we just skip it? It's fine.
It's more fun to talk about all the rest of this stuff.
Let's just talk around it.
It's ostensibly a music podcast, so let's talk about some actual music.
Then we shouldn't be talking about this song.
I haven't even talked about a burger yet. Yeah,
You haven't mentioned a burger until just then, so good job. Natalie, why don't you kick us off on some specifics on what really grinds your gears about this song?
Okay. I have, everybody who knows me knows I love listening to pop radio. Mm-hmm. Driving in my car, give me the garbage that's on the radio, and please just punch. Driving down freaking Rice Valley Road, Tuscaloosa, Alabama,
Roll Tide.
Oh man, doesn't get much more Tuscaloosa than that.
in my Chrysler LeBaron, got the
Woo!
top back, just cruising. And I'm listening to the radio louder than I ought to, and this song comes on. And this song comes on every 35 minutes. And it comes on, and you're like, okay, I don't remember what the song is. I'll listen to it. And then the chorus hits. The song is fine. The banjo intro is weird. The verses are fine. They're just normal radio. And then the chorus is so terrible. It's like Rob Thomas comes into the studio. I've got this great song. Don't have a chorus written for it yet, but we'll get to it. And then he remembers, remember when I was 14 and I started writing songs? I wrote this one that had a lot of rhymes in it. I'll just throw that in. And that's where that is my theory on Unwell. That's why they didn't talk about how Unwell was made on this stupid documentary that I wasted my time watching. Because they don't want people to know that it's garbage and it's just thrown together. Nobody wants to know that 12-year-old Rob Thomas wrote this song, but he did.
Don't say it, Hayden. Don't make a 12-year-old don't do it.
Oh, God. Yeah, so, I mean, you want to talk about the lyrics of this chorus then?
I mean,
I've been avoiding them all week, I'll be honest.
So it's but I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell. I know right now you can't tell, but stay a while and maybe then you'll see a different side of me.
I mean, good for little baby Rob.
Little baby Bobbert.
Little baby Bobby can rhyme some words, but 35-year-old Bobby should have known better.
It's interesting that this song gets you so bad because, like, I can testify of having been on road trips in the same car as Natalie. She does just pretty much jam to whatever's on the radio. Like you're having a good time listening to the pop radio. It's interesting that this one gets your goat so much.
God, I hate it so much. It tricks me all the time too, because it comes on, you're like, oh yeah, this is decent, and then oh shit, this is that song.
Well, let's not forget the second half of the chorus.
Please.
I'm not crazy. I'm just a little impaired. I know right now you don't care. Oh, broke the rhyme there, buddy. And then he follows it up with the best trick in the old lyric book, rhyming a word with the same word.
Oh.
But soon enough, you're going to think of me
Yes.
and how I used to be me.
Me.
It's art, man.
It is art, dude.
Here's my problem with these lyrics, okay? And this is like kind of a theme that if you really dig into Rob Thomas's lyrics, and I didn't that much, and you can find this theme there, is it's a lot of like, it's very gaslighty, you know?
Yes.
So, and you see it in this lyric like perfectly, like, oh, like I'm a mess right now, I'm getting my shit together, but things will be better. All you need to do is just stick around with me. It has this very, like I said, gaslight feel of like what you're experiencing is not the real thing.
How many Florida men can relate to that song for that reason? You know?
All of them.
Yeah, me too, man. I'll be better next time.
But it's also like he's gaslighting himself.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm fine. I don't need a doctor. I'm fine.
Nobody needs a doctor.
I don't need to go to therapy.
They just need pills and booze.
I mean, if you have legitimate like mental health problems, yes, you should like seek therapy and get help with that.
Of course, which is where I not to interject immediately, but that's where my main issue is. The song is whatever. It's like, it's just kind of unoffensive to me. I don't even notice it half the time. But after digging into it, I don't quite understand where he's like, the authenticity of where he's coming from, these lyrics. Because obviously, Will Bobbert, as we've talked about, had some, you know, kind of a difficult childhood. Probably not that tough for someone growing from Florida, honestly. So, like, where is this? Is this song coming from, like, a place of, like, real, like, is he, like, really trying to express, you know, mental health awareness? Or is he just, like, writing the song because he knows how people will react to it and how it will make him money, is my question.
I don't think he knew. I think it just started happening.
He was probably just writing lyrics about like, I, you know, have done shitty stuff, so just give me a second chance.
It just seems like he figured out how to broaden, like, his whole career is, like, you know, about how, like, tortured he is, kind of, despite it being, like, a polished pop thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, like, obviously an attempt to broaden that message, like, you know, distill it down a little bit for major pop radio. So I was just curious if it was, like, actually coming from a place of heartache or if he's just, like, being a douche. He's probably just being a douche, isn't he?
I think that lyric, the very first line of the chorus is, I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. I think that's what people latch on to because, you know, it's very easy, like people with mental illness, it's very easy to write them off as just, they're crazy. Like, oh, they're just crazy. But no, it's just like a physical disease. You know, someone needs to be treated for it. And at the time it came out, that was not as ubiquitous as a thought as it is now. And so I think, like I said, people just latched onto that line because there is a truism there, but then they just ignore the rest of the song.
Well, everybody likes to make this song about whatever is exactly wrong with them. It's kind of malleable in that way to people.
Well, and that's what makes a successful pop song a lot of times is,
For sure.
Writing something so generic that anyone can imprint their experiences on
Thrust themselves into.
it. Yeah.
Am I right?
I had a friend who made the lyrics of the chorus their AOL Instant Messenger away message.
Are you still friends with this person?
What was their handle?
I won't tell because you guys would know who this person is.
Oh, you got to tell. Oh no, come on now. You got to put them on blast on the pod.
She could tell us offline.
Yeah.
All right. I want to know what their handle was if it doesn't give away the identity.
I don't remember what the handle was. I just remember going to write them a message and getting that as the away, and I was like, I am never instant messaging you again.
You may have said this on the podcast before, Hayden, but Natalie, do you know what Hayden's?
Oh, we've definitely talked about this before. I was going to bring it up anyway because this band is in on the front page of the Times-Picayune today also.
Chili Peppers DMB.
Hey, I was there early enough to get Chili Peppers _DMB. All right,
With no
that's,
numbers.
No numbers.
Damn.
Chili Peppers DMB, baby.
I
That's
was
me.
in there early, man.
I
that's
could
a
probably
true
sell that for
fan.
some money these days, like an NFT, right?
Oh, man.
Did I get that right? No.
Yeah, it's like how you can sell Instagram accounts. You just sell your AIM account.
How do debit cards work?
Yeah. How do debit cards work?
Witchcraft.
So I have a lot of things to say about the actual music itself here, unless Natalie, you want to say anything else specific.
You go right ahead.
I've got a point with the music too. I'm curious if you fall on the same line as me.
So I'm going to get back to the banjo. You mentioned that. I'll kind of save that for the end of my rant here. I will say that there are a lot of positive things about this song, and you said that the rest of the song is whatever. It's just a pop song, especially like recording quality wise. there's that really dark piano tone in the verses that has like they roll off all the high end and has this very kind of diffuse and muffled character. Some people don't like that, but and I think Hayden would agree with me. That's kind of a tone that we are both sort of drawn to.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I wish they hadn't put the delay on it, so it just plays the one time and sustains. The acoustic guitar is recorded pretty well. It sounds pretty decent, and it's like really the only thing in the whole track that has any rhythm behind it, especially in the chorus. But by the time it comes in, they've got way too much going on. The guitar chords, the bass, the organ, they're all just playing these big, long, sustained notes, and you can barely hear the acoustic guitar. It's just like off there on the right stereo channel. To me, it would have been better to just put that dead center and turn everything else down, because that was like the best sounding part of the song. The overall arrangement isn't that bad. There's good dynamics, and even though it's kind of over compressed, even though for this time period, it's a very loud song. So like even the quiet parts are like all the way at the top of the meter. And, even though it's kind of a basic sort of well of chords they're drawing from, they do a fairly decent job of just switching the order up and doing small variations here and there on the sections, right? So even though there's 5 chords in this song, but for the most, like 90% of it is just the 4 sets of chords there, and they just sort of change how long they're held and change the order of them, and you get distinct sections that way. And I think it's actually a very good example of like an economy of chords in a pop song creating differences amongst the sections. So that's like a fairly positive thing I'll say about it. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, like it's just sort of boring rhythmically. It's just, we're just going to play big, long held chords. One of them's on an offbeat. Ooh, fancy. But to me, that's the biggest issue with it, is it's just boring because there's really nothing in there that like draws me in rhythmically at all.
Yeah. It definitely kind of starts this trend. Well, I don't know if it starts, but takes part in the early 2000s trend where you move a little further away from just a simple 1-4-5 to rely on your chorus, and they give the third chord minor, the 1-4 to the third chord minor to resolve the 5, which is like huge in the 2000s. Oh, yeah. So it kind of speaks maybe to Natalie's suspicion, like the rest of the song is constructed in a certain way, and then you just inserted this 2000s pop song blueprint in the chorus part.
Right.
So maybe it was written separately from the rest of the song, because it definitely does one thing that's been done a million times.
Yeah, it's the most boring, manila folder on a beige wall part of the song is the progression.
Exactly.
With a banjo.
With the banjo for no fucking reason.
I have a question. Let's talk about the banjo, because the banjo is talked about quite a bit, actually, by a lot of people.
Okay.
On the internet. I hated it. It sounds like Nashville to me. Was this song recorded in Nashville?
No.
I don't know where it was recorded.
Like I would just, when I hear that intro, I just think about Nashville for some reason.
Right.
So
They did all the basic tracks in New York, Woodstock.
So what are people, before you go on, what are people saying about the banjo on the internet?
people just love the banjo, like all across like all the message boards and comment sections. Like as Natalie alluded to, and we'll talk about when we go to the actual YouTube section, like most of the commentary around Matchbox 20 is people just finding a way for it to like help heal their pain or something, But the only other thing people talk about is the band. They love the banjo.
It's a gimmick.
Have they never heard the banjo before anywhere else? I mean,
I will give them it's a unique voicing that he's doing on the banjo. It's not like it's not uncreative.
There's nothing wrong with the riff that the banjo is playing. My problem is that a fucking banjo is playing it. Why?
Yeah, it's very odd.
Like, what was the word you just used, Natalie? It's a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree. You get that little pentatonic riff, and it's straight on the downbeat. It's like right in your fucking face. In my opinion, the only 2 acceptable contexts where you get hit in the face that hard with the banjo right off is bluegrass or Bella Fleck. And that's like it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say also just physically getting hit in the face with a banjo.
Yes.
It's weird you say Bella Fleck. You'll probably cut this, but I had a dream last night, Josh.
A sexy dream?
No.
A Throb Thomas dream.
Old Throb Thomas and Bela Fleck.
There's some fan fiction for you.
Flight of the Cosmic Dipshit.
Man, that's a deep cut Bella Fleck
Yeah.
joke.
So anyway, and I'll wrap this up really quickly, but I had this dream last night. You were in New Orleans, and you and I were watching a brass band, but they were playing a Flight of the Cosmic Hippo song, and I got really excited, and that you didn't recognize what it was, and I got mad at you. Then I woke up. That's it.
I like how even in your dreams you're mad at me. So, okay, I mean, I say that mostly in jest about, the banjo's context. Like, because in the right hands, the banjo can be like a very wonderfully diverse instrument. But that's not what's happening in this song.
Especially when you play it with your hands like he seems to be in that song. It's got a much more muted, warm tone.
But, this song falls pretty squarely in a standard sort of rock instrumentation. And there's nothing about the style of this music, or the song in particular, that suggests that a banjo belongs here. It's a complete non sequitur. And it's made worse by the fact that it's only used at the beginning and the end of the song, which is, to me, just like a big arranging kind of dud. Don't bring something in just to have it come back at the very end. Like, if you're going to put a fucking banjo in a song, put it throughout the song. You have that bridge has that like overdriven electric guitar doing a riff that kind of references what the banjo's playing,
but not really.
I mean, it's close. It's a an A pentatonic kind of deal, so there's only so much you're going to do with it. But to me, it would have made more sense.
Take that, A pentatonic.
Yeah, fuck you, A pentatonic with your F sharps.
You dumb bitch.
But it would have made more sense to me to have that same guitar play that riff at the front and end.
It shouldn't have mattered. I don't know. I think we're probably just wrong on this. We're just like thinking about it too much. Like everybody loves the banjo part. We're definitely on an island on this one.
People love it because it's the gimmick. I mean, you can
Sure.
do that to any song. Put a fucking banjo in it.
But the chorus is also a gimmick.
I think the
Yeah.
banjo is like what you said about the chorus, Natalie, applies to the banjo, where like they just had all this shit in. They're like, oh, well, let's just put this chorus in the studio, come up with something. I see this in my head. They're like working on this song, and someone in the band said, oh, what if we put a banjo in it?
Shit, that's a great idea. Do it.
Yeah.
Maybe they've listened to that Arkansas band.
Maybe that's why they got sued.
Hey.
Is this around the same time as the lawsuit? Maybe.
No, this is after that was dismissed and ended.
Okay.
But there's no reason for the banjo. Like, just if you're gonna do it, put it in the rest of the song so that the
Other
song.
than stacking bills, son,
I mean,
because it worked.
yeah, clearly I'm wrong about this because of the success of this song. But like, you just don't need a fucking banjo on everything. I'm sorry.
Well, this is before that trend. This is before Mumford.
I guess, but like, even though I hate Mumford and Sons, like that music is quote unquote banjo music in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like no one thinks Matchbox 20 and thinks banjo.
No, that's true. They don't.
But I mean, unless you were actively listening to this song, do you remember that there's a banjo in it?
No, that's what I'm
No.
saying. I forgot. I
That's a good point.
completely forgot that for that fucking banjo until I listened to it this week.
But and then there's the whole like. Here's me. My entire relationship to the song is sitting in my car. But this song comes on. I remember every time it come on thinking, why is a country song coming on? And then the song would actually start.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I hate this one. And then the banjo would come in at the end. Like, oh sweet, we're transitioning
Yeah.
into a country song.
No, it definitely sounds like from the beginning like this would be on like Nashville radio.
Yeah.
Like pop country.
The song is 3 different songs, just pieced together.
And none of them are good.
No.
It's kind of wonder if there's somebody in the studio from like the Nashville world who like pushes this part.
Maybe so. Maybe they heard this and thought we can capitalize on that market if we just put a fucking banjo in it. Those fucking rednecks are dumb as shit. They'll listen to anything.
You know what Matchbox 20 needs? More white fans.
More male white fans.
Oh man. But that's pretty much all my notes on this song. Hayden, did you have anything else that you want to mention about it?
Now the rest of my gripe has to do with the video.
Yes.
The video. Oh, I didn't even watch the video.
Oh, you didn't? That's
No.
that's unfortunate. Are we ready to transition?
No, I will say I forgot this one thing. Natalie sent us something this morning that I want to play for y'all.
Oh,
and
please do.
Get her opinion on it. This is Used to Be by Steve Aoki, Kiera, and Wiz Khalifa.
Oh yeah, this is better. You're right.
I'm not crazy, I'm just a little impaired. I know right now you don't care, but soon enough
That
you're
trap
gonna
snare.
forget me
Here comes that drop.
and how I used to be.
Man, if y'all could see Josh right now, if you didn't hate him before.
I mean, Natalie sent this and said, "Look, they fixed the chorus."
I agree.
Honestly, I stumbled upon that song this morning, and I thought it was the writing of the chorus that I hated, that the lyrics were just trash. Turns out I just hate Rob Thomas.
I mean,
Fair.
this again. You're a huge pop music fan. I'm not so much, but I could definitely see myself like pounding some White Claws and dancing to this in like a party boat.
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw you doing that in your room. So.
Yeah.
Except it's just in a lazy boy, and he's got pajamas on.
Just mustard stains on my sweatpants.
Mustard.
Oh man. All right. Yeah. Sorry. That was the last little diversion, but yeah, I agree that version of that chorus is, and they don't like cover the rest of the song. It's just the chorus that they take. It's miles more listenable than the Rob Thomas version.
Like we talk about all the time, that chorus has some dynamic work in it, and like the Matchbox 20 chorus, just a slather of mayonnaise that stays the same way the whole time.
Whoa! Watch your mayonnaise talk. You might have,
Oh, yeah.
you might have Adam bust in.
This is the wrong household for mayonnaise
This
jokes.
is Hellman's. It's Hellman's mayonnaise.
Yeah. Blue plate.
All right, let's get into the video commentary.
So, like we've alluded to twice already, like there's not much to mine from here because like it is just nothing but people using it as a diary and a sounding like a support group sounding board situation. I'm not here to dunk on them as much as I wanted to.
But isn't that annoying that you can't like really trash the song the way it deserves to be trashed because so many people are like
Yes.
got help from it? Like, doesn't that piss you off?
I brought up earlier how I'm not really sure.
Hang on, I'm sorry. It's moments like these where I'm just so glad that Natalie is a part of our lives.
I agree.
Sorry, continue.
No, it's that the thing is, like, I'm having a hard time believing him. And when you watch the video, to me, it's even worse. So I would definitely recommend all the listeners watch at least like the first half of this video, because while this song is obviously about an attempt at writing about some pretty serious subject matter and obviously means a lot to like lots of people, he sure doesn't take it very seriously in the video. It's got like basically like Muppet style comedy going on half the time, and it's just like really tongue in cheek while he's singing about something like this. He doesn't seem to be taking mental health very seriously in the video, that's for sure. So it's almost, to me, it's almost like he's mocking the people that are like taking support. I know he's not actually doing that, but it certainly looks that way when you watch the video and then you read all the horrible shit people were like using the song to like help cure. So I don't know.
At the very least, it seems that whatever, if he says he wrote this for like mental health awareness, he probably did so retroactively.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he should make a new video.
Yeah, it seems really goofy. Like I was very shocked because I expected a very like dour, like serious video, and it's just not that at all.
I didn't watch it, and just I would expect it to be like very similar to the Stained "It's Been a While" video. Just the guy sitting alone in his apartment smoking cigarettes and looking at pictures.
Being directed by Fred Durst. Anyway, not a whole lot to mine from other than that. At that point I wanted to make. There's also like there's just a lot of crazy people on this thread, man. There's even this one lady who has like come to this comment thread to try to claim that Matchbox 20 stole this song by photocopying her personal journal.
What?
Yeah, she claims that she wrote this entire song as a poem and that she had, quote, friends in a band who stole her journal and then photocopied her poem in her journal and then used it to make this song. There's crazies on this board, man. I deep dived her name and like any relationship to Matchbox 20. I tried to see if there's like any actual interaction between this person and Matchbox 20, and there wasn't.
Well, there are a few instances of things I found where like song titles or even album titles were like lifted from somewhere else.
From Matchbox 20's history?
Yeah, like for instance, the album title for Yourself or Someone Like You was originally supposed to be like The Woodshed Diaries or something like that.
Ugh.
And they in fact had already like printed copies of it, like several thousand copies of it with that title, and then they heard this woman perform a song at like a bar somewhere, and she said, "This song is for you or someone like you." And they're like, "Oh man, we love that." And they like delayed release of the album to make that change.
It's a way better name.
These guys suck. It's like trash.
So maybe this lady is not so crazy. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe not, but she just didn't seem to have a lot of like actual details.
Yeah, no like proof. Like she didn't have pictures of a diary that she had like posted for as proof or something.
Just like hold up her diary and then like a newspaper with the date or whatever.
I definitely went looking for her on the internet to see if I could find like any kind of like follow-up discussion about this, but it just seems that she was just doing it on this comment board.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a couple of comments I found that were pretty funny outside of all that. Jacob Colvin says, "Am I the only one who loves the faint electric guitar in the background?" Yes. Yes, you are, Jacob. What a boring thing to fixate on. I don't think I even recognize that there's electric guitar in the song, to be honest with you.
No, because it's all just mixed together in this big, huge sound of here's a chord.
Anyway, moving on. Ohio fan says,
Oh, we're already off to a rough start.
Ohio fan says, "This song makes me smile thinking about a bad breakup. It's so optimistic. I screwed up the relationship, but this song cheers me up so much. She'll remember and think of me, how I used to be, and smile about all the good times I gave her."
Ew.
Given your name and the fact that your profile pic is of 2 Red Bulls, I sincerely doubt you gave her anything but the clap, buddy.
Ugh. See, this is the kind of guy these lyrics appeal to.
Exactly. His profile picture is two cans of Red Bull.
No, it's just like his picture of reality is just so distorted. It's like, yeah, my girlfriend dumped me, but I know that she just sits around and thinks about the good times.
Yeah. Right after this, Calvin says, I think it's maybe in response to Ohio fan, says, "I mean, this song is a panty melter for sure."
Ugh.
Which I know. Which backs up the point you just made. Of like, what are these guys doing on here?
These are like classic, like getting like incel vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just a nice guy, you know. I don't get it.
I misunderstood. I had a bad day, whatever.
I'm just unwell.
Could you imagine like being a young lady and going back to a gentleman's like home or apartment, and you think things are going well, and you might have some physical romance happening, and he puts on "Unwell" by Matchbox 20.
Get out now.
Deal breaker. Natalie can't breathe right now.
I'm not okay.
Kenneth says, "If you're unwell, get tested and stay home." Comedy alert.
Got him.
Got a zinger.
Topical stuff there.
I guess I want you to believe this was like after an hour and a half of scrolling through diary entries just to find this. So
We appreciate the hard work.
So, and the last comment I want to bring up will only make sense if you've watched the video. But there is a moment in the video where Throbby Bobbert puts his face in the in the toilet water. He like sticks his face in the toilet bowl of water and like enters this world of like underwater Matchbox 20 world. And Neon Shark 69 says, "Moral of the story: dipping your face in the toilet causes you to hallucinate. Sick."
Sick.
Neon Shark 69 could not be a more Fort Lauderdale screen name.
Yeah, that's all I got on that. But what I did do to fill up a little extra time, I want to play another like brief game here with you two. I went and found an Ask Me Anything with Rob Thomas
Oh no.
on Reddit. And I picked a couple of good questions and answers.
Okay.
I didn't get time to get through all of it because I was doing it right before we logged on. But Josh, this one's for you. This is the question asked to Rob Thomas. What is your favorite note in the musical alphabet? You want to give me any guesses on Bobbert's answer?
Okay. I'm going to ask for a hint.
He names a chord. He doesn't name a note.
Okay, so he actually names something that is in the musical alphabet.
Yeah, it's just one of the main chords.
Okay.
Which chord do you think Rob Thomas thinks is the saddest? I'll rephrase it.
D minor.
Yes! Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, right on.
Duh.
Nice. His answer to the question, which doesn't answer the question, is D minor is the saddest of all chords. All right, now this is for you. The question to Rob Thomas. Personal question, Rob. What would your grandmother think of your success today? Do you have any guess at how he would respond to that?
What would his
Based on your...
I mean,
Okay, well, I'll give you some background. His grandmother was also a raging alcoholic.
Shh, damn it.
I was gonna say, my approach here was, I'm pretty sure that Josh told us he had a terrible upbringing, so Grandma may not have lived long enough to hear any of his songs.
Oh, man, that's a really good guess, but the answer was she would just get drunk and ask me for money.
That's pretty good too.
She also gave him weed, apparently, when he was like 11. He's like, I don't know what this is.
That explains the Sublime influence on his attire. All right, here's the final question. This is for whoever can get it first. Question to Rob Thomas. What's the best state in the United States of America?
I mean, he says Florida, right?
Josh?
Depression.
I'm going to say Vermont.
His answer was drunk.
Oh, it's close. I said depression.
I think Natalie gets that one, yeah, because...
Yeah, Natalie wins. Nice job with the D minor, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people have...
Isn't Moonlight Sonata in D minor? Isn't that why it's so sad?
I thought it was in C.
Oh, maybe
This
so.
is getting real
Who cares?
dorky, guys.
You know what, Hayden? I care. And so do the listeners of this podcast.
Do they, though?
All three of your listeners.
It's in C sharp minor. So
Close enough.
God,
it's just a sad D minor.
It's got a really D minor vibe, okay?
you guys have a real D minor vibe.
I won't argue that.
Oh, man. So is that it? Are we done talking about Robert Thomas?
I've got nothing else to say about this guy, personally.
Nothing to say.
I want to find out more about Neon Shark 69, though.
What if it is Rob Thomas?
If I were on my work computer, I would just Google Neon Shark 69 right now, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, this is definitely a bad idea on a work computer. Well, we had a great time. It was very exciting to see Natalie really unleash the hate on a Rob Thomas.
I mean, I could keep going if you needed me to, because fuck that guy.
Any closing statements?
From me?
Yeah, I
why
mean,
not?
or about the song, or about Matchbox 20 in general.
Or about how much you hate both of us?
Well, I was going to say my closing statements is that I wish you both would suck a dick.
And there it is. Perfect.
Finally.
I can't think of a better way to end. Thanks, Natalie, and thanks, Hayden. We'll see everybody next time.
Roll Tide.